I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with mine own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word was whistled through the reeds, sung through the trees, and swirled through the chasms of space. In imitation of this sound, man formed the vowels, and, according to the Kabbalah, therein is found the name of God. The readings indicate that there is power in the vowels to awaken corresponding spiritual centers in man. There is the sounding of what we call in the present the vowel in such a manner that they proclaimed or aroused to the physical organism the association of the centers through which there is the connection of the spiritual forces. The following reading illustrates the eternal importance of the vowel sounds. The entity then was in the name or rather those calls that makes easy the mysteries of words as related to sounds, and wrote that bring to the consciousness in those that have indwelled in those lands that activity, not of words, that brings, that impulse that urges that those forces from, without act upon the elements, in whatever sphere they may bring a material manifestation. This must be controlled within self. Let self, then, be grounded rather in the faith of that which is, was, and ever will be, the source of all spirit, all thought, all mind, all physical manifestation, the one God, as called in this period. In that period he was called Zu. In the next, Om, now known as Egypt, with Ra-Ta, he was called God, Gord. The chant receives its power not so much from the vocalization as from the inner response to the vibration produced. These vibrations are controlled by the emotions and thoughts of the chanter. Chanting should produce a vibratory movement through the centers, starting at the lowest and reaching the highest. It is not suggested that there be concentration on any individual center. Before activating the deep energies within the body by the use of chants, we should define our ideals and purpose. As we begin to focus on our highest concepts, we may think of those we have known who seem to express these qualities. Ultimately, our contemplation may lead us to the great lights who have channeled spiritual awareness into physical application. Jesus, who became the Christ, expressed this perfectly. The following reading is an example of a type of contemplative meditation which can lead to an outward demonstration of the power in the name. As to the abilities of the entity and that to which it may attain and how in the present. First it must be said, study. Through that known in self of spiritual and mental forces, activate in the experience of the body to show self-approved unto an ideal that is set in the Son, the Christ, knowing that in possessing the consciousness of His love, His manifestation, all is well. For, as is known, without that love as He manifested among men, nothing can, nothing did, nothing will come into consciousness of matter. Not that we may deny evil and banish it, but supplanting and rooting out evil in the experience, replacing the same with love that is in the consciousness of the body Jesus, the Christ. we may do all things in His name, and using those opportunities in whatsoever sphere of activity the entity may find to show forth those commands He gave. Quote, "If ye love me, keep my commandments." End quote. What ye ask are His commandments. Quote, "A new commandment give I unto you, that ye love one another." End quote. What then are the fruits of love, the fruits of the Spirit? Which are kindness, hope, fellowship, brotherly love, friendship, patience. These are the fruits of the Spirit. These are the commands of Him, that ye manifest them in whatsoever place ye find yourself, and your soul shall grow in grace, in knowledge, in understanding, and that joy that come with a perfect knowledge in Him brings the joy of earth, the joys of the mental plane, and the joys of the spheres, and the glory of the Father in thine experience. The name represents the nature. The nature or character of an individual is shown by the qualities which he manifests. The foregoing reading describes the nature of Jesus as love, and says consequently that we must attune to the vibration or attitude of love. Music is a way of attunement. Sometimes, without our conscious awareness, the soul responds to a chant. This was a point out in a reading given to a young woman who deeply desired the experience of a home. Yet the greater blessing that the entity in its activity rendered the people in that experience were in the building of the individual's homes. And this will become a part of the entity's experience in this sojourn. For within the next 2.5 to 3 years there should come into the experience that association, the relations with one who has as a helpmeet to the entity during that sojourn. For, as has been indicated from the innate experience as well as from the longings within, a home, with all its deeper inner meanings, is a portion of the entity's desire to know, to experience, to have the feel of, to have the surroundings of, that implied by the word home. It is any wonder, then, that in all of thy meditation, Om, Om, has ever been, is ever a portion of that which raises self to the highest influence and the highest vibration throughout its whole being that may be experienced by the entity? Another chant was given in connection with an exercise for quieting of the nerves. With the body seated in what is ordinarily termed as Chinese or Japanese fashion, and with the chant that has been a portion of the body of the A.R.E. in the deep breathing and the circular motions of the body, and the carrying of the directing of the spiritual influences and the mental activity to the glandular forces of the body, raising these within self, and directing them to that to be accomplished would be the manner. Keeping the mental attitude of the Christ consciousness within that is purifying, is magnifying the abilities for peace, quiet, and yet attuning self to the aliveness of not only the emotions, but to the mental applications for constructive experiences in the body and mind. A woman who is learning to sing requested help in establishing the best mental attitudes for progress and was told that the scales could be used as a chant to awaken her to the love of the Father. Question 5. What should be my attitude of mind about trying to learn singing in order to progress most rapidly? Answer 5. This becomes a part, then, if it may be given so as to be fully understood, as has been comprehended oft, there arises in the experience of the self the necessity for the deep meditation with the awareness that His presence is so nigh unto thee. And yet there are those periods when it is the spoken word, even as He gave, quote, Lazarus, come forth, end quote. Yea, as He gave, quote, neither do I condemn thee, go and sin no more, end quote. Or, as He gave, quote, inasmuch as ye show forth the Lord's death till He come again, for keep this in remembrance till I drink it anew, end quote. Such then the entity finds necessary in giving forth in song, in the harmonies of the same, just as has been indicated through this channel for many. The entity will find that there are the combinations of that ye call the scale, or those harmonies set to the A.R.E. that awaken within self the abilities of drawing that love of the Father as shown to the children of men in the experiences of His own through their activities in the earth. Hence we will find that to many, and to this entity specifically, the attempts even, yea, the seeking for the harmonious expression, will bring that which only music alone as set can span, that concept between the finite and the infinite in its relationships to those that seek to know His presence with them. In this way, the attunement becomes the at-one-ment or atonement. Question 1. Please give a definition of at-one-ment. Answer 1. At-one-ment is making self's will one with the creative forces that may become the impelling influence in thought, in mind, that is the builder to every act of a physical, mental, or material body. Then, in making at-one-ment, the will of an entity, an individual, is made one with the creative influences in the experience. One might ask, quote, how important is this experience of oneness? End quote. The answer resounds from every reading in one form or another. Remember, the Lord thy God is one. Thy experiences through the earth then are one. The activities of thy body, thy mind, thy soul should be then as one. And each experience to thine self comes as those influences that make for regeneration, uplift the experience which, if taken into the activities of self, becomes as the means for bringing harmony and peace in the inner self. The knowledge of this oneness is within the soul memory of each of us. The attuning of self through the chant releases this awareness in steps which can be applied in helping ourselves and others. Turn for the moment, then, to thy service in the temple beautiful, Here we have those incantations that are as but the glorifying of constructive forces in all of their activity within the human emotion that may be known in the present day, for glory, not of self, not of the ability of self, but the glory of oneness of purpose, of the I am of the individual, for the glorifying of that creative energy within self that may keep the whole body individual, whole body as the group, the whole body as the whole within the sound, as it ranges from the highest to the lowest of the incantation within, following that known in thine own present as I O U I O These as they make for the rising of that from width, the creative forces, as it arises along that which is set within the inner man as the cord of life, that once or severed may separate, does separate that balance between the mind, the body, the soul. These three, as accorded with the human forces, are the activities that were carried on by the thyself and movement of body in every motion that made for the lifting up, the intoning in of self within, that there might come, as it were, the sound as of many waters, or as the morning star in their circuit about the earth may sing with the glorious coming of the light into the experience of man to rise same to his at oneness and his attunement with those beauties of the coming of the sons of men into the earth, that God in his oneness of purpose may bring those activities with the sons of God as an at-one-ment in their purpose on this earth, in their purposes in the earth. The glorifying of him in the dealings and associations with the fellow man, and these find their attunements in each chord as it rings one with another in all the music that may be heard from every sound that follows in E-I-U in its forms, through the atonement in an attunement along the pineal to the source of light within the self to make for the emotions of glorifying alone.